with that, we are now warmed up to begin the much-awaited ride. We are now ready to usher in the excitement energy of ideas. We are now ready to challenge the conventional. Let me introduce the first speaker of the day to you. They say you're really lucky if your passion becomes your profession. But here's a man whose passion once used to be his fear. Mr. Madhava Reddy, a postgraduate in mass communication and a financial journalist, is our first speaker for today. He reported financial news for 16 years, successfully managed a telecom engineering company, and now owns a scuba diving training institute. This could only be the story of someone who has truly challenged the conventional. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the man whose love affair with the ocean continues. I present to you the Managing Director of Planet Scuba, Mr. Madhava Reddy.
Few, I see. So, in that sense, I guess, scuba diving is unconventional. More so, probably to do a business in scuba diving. I'm just timing myself just in case I overrun to my next speaker's time. It's lovely to have an office underwater. I entertain my guests underwater. But then I'll come back to the underwater world in a short while. I want to say my piece that I've been hiding for all these years, wanting to express it to some audience like this about what made me, what shaped me, and how I learned a few lessons in life. Challenging the conventional. Well, to begin with, this is unconventional. Me being here, I wasn't a front bencher in school. I wasn't a topper anywhere during my academic life. But I'm here because many perceive that I'm doing something different. Now is it? Maybe a wee bit. Because, as I said earlier, not many think about the sea. Not many believe that the sea can be a great place to do business. So, challenging the conventional has been a subject that I wouldn't say came easily to me, because for me all this came in the natural course of my life. So I decided I'll at least put to you a few thoughts that I believe have contributed to shaping me. The first among them is my heroes. What's life without heroes? Every one of us has heroes, don't we? And those heroes helped shape our thought. They are also human beings. And you gel with the way they are living their life. Now, for me, coming from the background I do, and I've seen a host of other people. Earlier, sitting in the back room, a few of my fellow speakers and I were speaking about something called central schools in India. Central schools are government schools started mainly for military kids who wouldn't otherwise get good schooling in those hard places that military people are posted to. I grew up in them. And we were discussing how they shaped us, how they taught us to be egalitarian. Yet, back in the house, many of us faced that restriction of middle class values. That's what we call it. It's not politically correct, but yes, that is what it is called. So giving up inhibitions, but not morals, has been an important part of my life. Dreams. I've always been a daydreamer. It's not bad. Unless you dream, there is no different. Man wouldn't have walked on moon. We all know that. And now finally, I'll talk to you about the world I come from, underwater. Let's start. Let me introduce my heroes. Most of you know the two gentlemen on the right. The gentleman on the left, most of us have such heroes within our families. He's my father. He broke the mold, like many in this country have done over the last 60 years since our independence. He was a village boy who trudged 5 kilometers to school, became the first kid in the college, in the village to get college education, studied at the Indian Institute of Science, joined the Indian Air Force as an engineer. And at the ripe young age of 58, became an entrepreneur. Dhirubhai Ambani, the man many in this country believe rewrote the rules when it suited him to grow his business called Reliance Industries. I have met the man, I have been a journalist, I have interacted with many who challenged him and who supported him. He, I believe, contributed to this country more in 2 decades than all of the industrialists put together in the last 60 years since our independence. That is why he's my hero. He was challenged, just one example. He was challenged because he brought in a manufacturing plant for 100 crores that produced, I'm just taking hypothetically, 100,000 tons of a particular product. And another industrialist had set up the same business for 100 crores but manufactured only 10,000 tons. So he was called a smuggler, he was called a robber, yet his faith and his belief that he was doing right has put Reliance where? Right at the top of the hill and still growing. Reliance today owns the biggest refinery in the world, a source of pride for this country. Ratan Tata, don't be fooled by the surname Tata. He had a bigger battle than even Dhirubhai Ambani within his house. Yet, he has maintained the Tata Group, the most powerful brand name of this country, as the top industrial conglomerate of India. Let me come to what has been dogging my mind, all these years. What is it about life that I most cherish now, that has helped me be what I am, is help from a lot of friends that allowed me to give up my inhibitions. You see a lot of words here. What do they mean to you? In public life, all these words make us cringe. They're embarrassing. To not be embarrassed by this and a lot more was my goal in life. At the ripe old age of 22, I decided this life should be about giving up inhibitions. People call it by different names. I chose to call it get rid of my inhibitions. And then I was a dreamer. I told you, I've always been a daydreamer. Dreams are good. They take you to a land where you can forget your troubles. Every one of us. These are just examples of what we all think about. Each one of us has a different dream. I've thought of all these. So, from this emerges, at least for the younger generation, what I call the Reddy rules. Don't think too much about it. You will find your calling. Keep dreaming. Consciously think of elements in your personality that you really want to get rid of. Your inhibitions, as I said earlier. Growing up, my biggest problem was to reconcile the new knowledge I was acquiring with what I had learnt as a child. Having grown up in a Hindu household, Ramayana and Mahabharata was something that were taught to us as kids. But there were stories of good versus evil. And as I grew up, as we have all faced, I guess, the differences started blurring. Ramayana. Rama had one wife. He devoted himself to her. In Mahabharata, Krishna had 16,008 wives, and he was everywhere, and many more lovers. How do you reconcile this moral contradiction? We all have thought about this, and these contradictions. I can't answer it, but every one of us finds a level somewhere to move forward. But to get rid of that there is a clear divide between good and evil, is something that helps us think beyond the realms of the conventional. Those driven by passion, yes, it's true. I didn't. Don't always think through a plan. You need to. You need to put it down on paper. An idea does not make a business. Why am I saying this? Because many of us have ideas at workplace that don't see the light of day. Because we don't have an action plan. We don't have a well laid out strategy. And keep chasing your dreams, you will find the results that you want at the end. Hello? Can you hear me? So this is how a new life began for me post my life as a journalist, something that I trained for my entire life. And then suddenly I was uprooted into a world of industry which I was a financial journalist, but I didn't know how to run a company. It's taken me a decade And that's why it's so great for me to be here today, because I've just emerged from a string of 10 years of failures. And this speech today is a way of clearing my own cobwebs. So yeah, scuba diving. I was sitting with a couple of friends at this popular place that you all know. Many of you might know. So I turned over the table mat and we did a business plan. Sometimes things just come together at that moment. It's amazing that we're still sticking to this business plan. It's not for reading, it's just for display. That's how it happened with me. So it takes me to that other part of my life. She's my new dive buddy. In my dreams, though, and she's my new instructor. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I now come to the final part of my presentation, which is scuba diving. In the last 3 years, Bollywood has been the biggest contributor to the growth of scuba diving awareness in this country. Scuba diving is an important contributor to economies around the world. Maldives virtually lives off income from scuba diving. All the Polynesian islands live off scuba diving. India is just beginning. There are 40 million divers in the world now, recreational, fun divers in the world. India has but a few thousand. By ratio of its population and its wealth, it should be around 1 million at least by now. It's not, just a few thousand. Late Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi of India introduced scuba diving to India actually in 1980s when he went and dived in the Lakshadweep. Some of the older people will remember this. There were stories out of Lakshadweep about his diving. Sonia Gandhi is a diver, and so is Rahul Gandhi, who is a scuba instructor, I'm told. So there's a lot of places in the world you can dive. Most of the diving, good diving or easy recreational diving, is between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. You all know that, right? Once again, how many of you here swim? Oh, that's a lot. And you haven't tried diving. The biggest problem me and all my colleagues in the diving industry face is that Indians don't swim, particularly urban Indians. Don't swim. Less than 20% of urban India swims. And that's our biggest constraint in growth. You swim? So, in India, it's not known, and you will hear a lot about this in the near future. I'm so sorry about the slide. I think I made some mistake. Lakshadweep, Andamans, Goa, these are destinations we all know. Do we know them? Gujarat. At Dwarka, there is a city buried under the sea. The original Dwarka. The city supposedly of Lord Krishna. You will hear very soon that all of you can actually, through scuba diving, go and visit and pay your respects at that place underwater very, very soon. Karnataka, the best known destination right now on mainland India, is a place called Netrani Island of Murudeshwara. Many of you know Murudeshwara? The reasons why you will hear a lot about scuba diving in India over the next 1 year. There's nothing like showing you visuals of the world I come from. This is entirely shot by us, and it's all of us, people like you and me from India.
No desvíes la mirada, quédate cerca de mí. मुझको बाहों में तुम घेरो, समझी ना.
The whale shark.
चाहत के दो पल भी दिल पाए, दुनिया में ये भी कम है क्या? दो पल को तो आओ हो जाए, पूरे हम होता हम है क्या? Señorita, suno suno, señorita, कहते हैं हम क्या? Jamás podré interpretar el sentido de las palabras que me dedican, pero el calor de tu mirar me hace sentir como la más bella señorita.
Lakshadweep. Netrani.
कहीं अरमानों की दास्तां है सेñorita, ये चाहत की मोहब्बत की सारी दुनिया में एक ही जुबान है सेñorita. मुझसे अब नजर ना फेरो, आओ पास तुम मेरे,
Nemo.
मुझको बाहों में तुम घेरो, समझी ना सेñorita.
चाहत के दो पल भी दिल पाए, दुनिया में ये भी कम है क्या? दो पल को तो आओ खो जाए, पूरे हम होता हम है क्या? सेñorita, सुनो सुनो सेñorita, कहते हैं हम क्या? जो भी पल बीता हे सेñorita,
Diving on a shipwreck.
हर पल तुमने है दिल जीता, बस इतनी सी तो बात है. No desvíes la mirada,
Diving in tough conditions.
cerca de mí.
मुझको बाहों में तुम घेरो, समझी ना señorita.
A sea snake.
पल भी दिल पाए, दुनिया में ये भी कम है क्या? दो पल को तो आओ खो जाए, पूरे हम होता हम है क्या? चाहत के दो पल भी दिल पाए, दुनिया में ये भी कम है.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is just the beginning for our scuba diving industry. You will hear more from us soon. Thank you.